Hello everyone, welcome to another video of The Natural Yogi. I'm The Natural Yogi and I wanted to share with you my process of learning languages as an adult. So first off is I do want to share that I was able to 2 months ago go to the salon and have my hair cut properly. I actually had an undercut right here at the back because it's really hot and I wanted a fresh haircut. So when I tie my hair, it would be. I just feel that I could feel the wind more when I play tennis. So I had the undercut and I also had my hair bleached, and now I recolored it because it already faded after a month. So this is my second recoloring. I have red and I have turquoise underneath. I have turquoise over here, and I also have turquoise here, red, and I have apple green somewhere here that I couldn't see while I was just um, dyeing it using Manic Panic, the Manic Panic brand. So anyway, back to the video. I wanted to share my process of um, learning languages as an adult, and it's these insights are specific to me, and I know there are a lot of YouTube polyglots that have their own process, and some of them I've also picked up from Steve Kaufman, and I think he and Stephen Krashen are the godfathers of modern language learning, and I really my process comes from their ideas as well as my history of language learning. So for those who don't know, I actually grew up a polyglot. Before discovered that term, I always just considered myself, my family, and my friends multilinguals because in the Philippines we have two official languages, which is English and Filipino, and our medium of instruction is actually English. Sciences, math, everything is in English. And I also went to a Chinese school, so I can also speak Mandarin. Question at a questionable level, but I can understand Mandarin. Um, and then, because my family is my ancestors, like my great grandparents, are Chinese immigrants. So the province that they come from is in Fujian, China, and we speak Hokkien. So it's another language that I speak at home. I wasn't taught that in school, but my parents taught me to speak it. My grandparents also taught me to speak it. And then I can also speak Cebuano. It's another Philippine language, and yes, they are different languages and not dialects because people who don't speak Cebuano cannot understand any word, at least 80 or at least 85%. I would think there's a really small number of words that are similar, but it's not mutually intelligible. Okay, so you can look that up. Those are different languages. The Philippines has hundreds, 170 or something languages, and I can only speak two. I know people speak Pampangueño, Ilocano. I think Ilocano and Hiligaynon is the same. I'm also not sure, but yes. And China also has a lot of different Chinese languages. I can speak Mandarin and Hokkien. So my point is learning those five different languages when I was growing up is very different from learning Portuguese, Russian, and now French. I started French early this year, actually late last December, but I'm still a beginner, like a zero negative beginner. Outside from je suis, j'adore, j'aime bien, j'aime beaucoup, pretty much don't know anything. Um, but I'll get into that with French later on when I explain how um, how much easier it is to read French right now that I have learned Portuguese to an okay level. According to the italki test that I got, I'm at a B1 level, so that's really low intermediate. And I think with the things that I'm able to do, watch movies, watch at least movies for children, like on Disney Plus, it's easy for me to understand. Yes. So, once again, the process is different from when I was growing up because now these languages are not available to me 24/7. My parents don't speak it, no people around me, my friends. Although I have one friend who speaks Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese, but I'm not with her all the time. So, but I did make a rule with her that every time I would speak with her, that always, sempre em português. So, that is, yes. So that's what's different right now with these other languages. So basically, my sixth, seventh, and eighth language. So, what is my language learning process for those languages that I have no one to speak to in my daily life? I think I have no idea what happened. There was, sorry, glitch in the electricity. It happens. So, my language learning process now. First is I choose a language. So, like with Portuguese, okay, so my basis of choosing a language, and I think this is also one of the factors in how successful a person will be in learning a language to spoken fluency to whatever level they want is the emotional attachment to the language, mm, how much they like the sound of the language, if they have a goal to understand something, and if they have a goal to speak with someone. So these things are pretty much a check for me with Portuguese, Russian, and French. So with Portuguese, I did capoeira when I was in university, and that was my first exposure to the Portuguese language, even if it was the Brazilian accent. Then I had a goal to understand and read books by Paulo Coelho, like The Alchemist. The books that I've read in English from Paulo Coelho was The Alchemist, The Pilgrimage, and O Diário de Mago in Portuguese. And then I've also read 11 Minutes. What else? Some book that I think I started The Witch of Portobello, but I didn't finish it. Yeah, but basically what I remember clearly would be O Alquimista, Diário de Mago, and 11 Minutos. So now I've read O Alquimista last year, so right now I'm reading O Diário de Mago. Okay, so, and the last would be I have a goal to speak with someone who is my friend. She studied in Brazil for, I think, 2 or 3 years of high school, so she pretty much could understand basic things, and she could get around a Portuguese speaking country. And then, so that's the first step of my process, is choosing the language. With Russian, well, I just found that there are people who speak Russian in Hollywood movies are always the cool people. They're either Black Widow assassin or Mila Kunis. I find her really cool, and they're always strong women, and I guess that's something that I would like to emulate. I don't know, but I just find the Russian language very appealing to me. So That's emotion. I like the sound of Russian, and I do have a goal to later on, probably a year more, like 1 year of Russian, one more year of Russian, because I only have like 13 months of Russian for now, or 14. So maybe after 2 years of Russian, I could slowly read Crime and Punishment. I know it was a bit boring in English, but I, I mean to other people, but to me, I enjoyed it. So, um, and goal to speak with someone. I don't have anyone who I could speak Russian with, but I eventually would want to visit Russia. So by then, I would like to be at least comfortable going around without using a lot of English. And so with French, that's the same thing. I've been to France twice in my life, and I've always enjoyed. I've enjoyed both experiences. So that's the emotional plus for me. I also like the sound of French because why not le croissant, right? And then I also have a goal to understand. 2 years ago, 2020, I think, when first Lupin first came out and on Netflix, I enjoyed it, and I found that it's actually a series of books, like Sherlock Holmes. He is but our son Lupin is actually a thief, a gentleman thief, I think, and I would like to read that. And another is I enjoy Le Petit Prince, the book, the story, because once again, like Weltmishta, it's a fable, and I enjoy books. Enjoy books a lot. One of the reasons why I started to read in another language as well is because I found English boring. I mean, I still read Agatha Christie because I find that interesting, but I would like to think like Hercule Poirot. Hercule Poirot, who speaks French. Okay, this is a bit of a tangent, but again, I would like to read Le Petit Prince, and I'm actually reading Le Petit Prince in French. And then to speak with someone when I get to France, I would like to be able to speak French if whenever I go back to France, hopefully soon. So that was a lot about choosing a language. So I just gave examples of why I chose my languages. So when you choose your language, see if you have the same connection, interest, likes about the language before learning the particular language that you choose, because that would make it like the entire process of language learning very much enjoyable, and you won't get bored with it. So the second would be my second step in the language learning process is I already have a language, and then now I will find material on YouTube. For Portuguese, I enjoyed Practice Portuguese, YouTube channel. Again, books, like I said, I got the original Portuguese version of O Alquimista and O Diário de um Mago, and then I also read O Principezinho because it is a children's book and the words are not too complicated, even if the message is actually like it applies before in different ways when I first read it when I was a kid and today as an adult. Yeah, so for French, Le Petit Prince, even for Portuguese, I started O Principezinho. And other children's books, I think for Russian, I actually enjoyed In Russian from Afar. Sergey has really good fairy tales and stories that he uses TPRS to tell these stories, and this is one of the reasons why even if Mandarin was a difficult subject, because each character is different, and you pretty much cannot guess what that character is if you don't know it. So during a test, if you don't know what that word means or you don't know what the word is, there's really nothing you can write. I mean, you can write other stuff, but it wouldn't make sense and you wouldn't have a good grade. So it's that's and the only reason why I enjoyed Mandarin so much is because I love stories, and we were taught through stories Mandarin. So when we were in preschool, we were taught the fable of the lady on the moon for the Mid Autumn Festival. Festival, um, something about the rabbit. I also forgot, and what. Yeah, I really enjoy that. That this lady loves her husband so much, and then she decided to take the poison or something. It might be wrong, but for some reason she ended up in the moon, and that's why the moon cake would always have the lady on the moon. And then throughout elementary, through high school, we were taught geography in Mandarin, and then we were also taught different stories about historical figures. And on the sixth grade, all through high school, we were taught Chinese history, and I've always enjoyed stories. So whether it's stories of fiction or stories of history, I enjoy them all. So it's the same with these languages that I'm learning right now. As long as I find a good story that I would like to finish, like if the story is interesting enough, I would finish reading it in that language. But of course, the stories would be different. Like for a beginner, you would start with children's stories, of obviously, and then you would progress to more uh, vocabulary rich stories for maybe elementary students, and then you would go on to more complicated stories. Then you could go to on to news. My Russian is not at that level, but at least my Portuguese is to some degree. I can read news articles to some degree. So that's my second step. Find material. Oh, and one thing that I also do is with the languages that I'm learning now is that I have a notebook where I have like phrases and common phrases that I use in daily life. Like I would, aside from greetings like hello, good morning, etc., I have also like how to say like this word how to say. So I can ask people like how do you say this? So comment se dit, or comment dites, tax gazette, to or chamushuo, to be able to ask how to say a certain thing. Because I think when eventually speaking with people, you would need that. And then I understand or I don't understand. You say, now say, no, that's I know. You entendi, não entendi, panimayo, niya panimayo, and those phrases. So I would suggest, if you are starting a new language, write things that you think you want to say in the language. So for example, right now I'm learning French, and I have a list of phrases that I want to learn, like to ask how are you, how old are you, what do you do, and then translate that in to French. And then yes, like I said, how you say, so you could ask people, or I don't understand, please say it again. Like, je n'ai pas compris. Um, forgot the word. Oh, what was that? Je n'ai pas compris. Je n'ai pas. Wait. I think I have it here. Where is it? There. Je n'ai pas compris. Pourriez-vous répéter? So, je n'ai pas compris. Pourriez-vous répéter? So, I don't. Oh, first, of course, I should say, je suis désolé. I'm sorry. Je n'ai pas compris. I can't understand. I don't understand. Pourriez-vous répéter? Please repeat. Actually, you have to say, please repeat what you said. So I think those are things that it's good for you to have, because people who, like, the things that they sell on bookstores, probably like the 50 useful phrases in blah 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 language. I think that's like just a general, but each person has their own lexicon. Like, I have my own vocabulary, my cousins have their own vocabulary. For example, I work in the steel industry and my cousin works in the chemical industry. There are terms that I use in Hokkien that she doesn't understand, and there are terms that she uses in Hokkien that I don't understand. So it's really a personal lexicon, personal set of vocabulary that I have, that I know how to say because it's relevant to me in my life, and it might not be relevant to you in your life. So with Google Translate or DeepL, deepl.com, DeepL.com, it's a very good translate online translator, and can help you with the thoughts, translating the things that you need to, like, this is outside of having actually a friend or a language partner or a tutor to tell you what is the natural way to say it. So that's finding material and creating your your own phrases. And the last would be spending time with the language. And I think all polyglots, online or even not online, would tell you that really spending time with the language, in the language, thinking about the language, moving through the language, I don't know, but spending time with it is really the thing that could push you forward from not knowing what to say anything to knowing what to say and understanding. So the breakdown for me in spending time with the languages that I have, like in Portuguese, Russian, and French, the first is listening. And listening for me is 60% of the time. Why? It's because when I am, let's say, when I wake up, I immediately put on a podcast or the mini stories in Link or whatever in, I turn it on my phone. So when I'm feeding the cats, I'm watering the plants, folding my clothes, folding my bed, I am already hearing the speech pattern, the sounds, even if I don't understand all the words, but I would come back to that later on and then, see what sound matches what word and what does it mean later on. I try to listen to things. I also try to watch things on YouTube like TPRS, TPRS Russian, which Russian and in Russian from afar has a lot of material, a lot of videos. So that's for listening. I spend 60% of my time listening. Oh, okay, listening and actually also watching TPRS on YouTube. Put that together. The second is 20%, so 60% plus 20%, so this is the 80%. So now 20% I listen while reading. So I use Link, the app Link, to read and listen while I read. So I also have books from Ollie Richards, this through learning languages through through reading stories. So I play the audiobook while I'm reading the physical book or my Kindle. So that's 20% of my time. And then 10% is reading only. Sometimes I don't put the volume up. I just read on Link. And then I write my gold list. I used to do a lot of gold lists for Portuguese, but for Russian and French, I find that I don't think I need to write a lot because I don't know. I just find that I enjoy reading more and listening more than writing. Because, like Steve Kaufman says, writing is output, and we need more input than output actually to gain more in terms of fluency. And the last 2% is speaking. Speaking with a tutor, speaking with a friend. That's like takes 2% of my total time in the language. So basically, for me, speaking is just a checking of pronunciation, because I find that if I listen a lot, even if this word is not familiar to me, but I listen to it every day. And for example, I was listening to the podcast of, no, actually the video of Steve Kaufman and Russian with Max. They were talking about a lot of things in Russian. And then, because the first 5 minutes, Steve said something like, "Я предпочитаю." So the word предпочитаю is actually kind of long in Cyrillic, and because I heard предпочитаю almost каждый день, so almost every day. So even when I recognize the word, like it sounds like предпочитаю, and then I've heard it so many times, so when I read it, it's like I didn't even have to think to see and I just said, okay, I know this word, it's предпочитаю. So for me, really just being familiar with the sound, it's easy to pronounce once you listen to it again and again, and you recognize it, and your brain recognizes it, and your ears recognize it. Producing the sound is easy. It's that if you've never heard of the sound, you've never heard of how the letters are put together. Like if I gave myself, like for example, I was trying to say pourrez-vous répéter. This is the first time it's a new word. I've never heard it before because my listening in French I only have around 30 hours compared to over 900 hours in Portuguese and 400 plus almost 500 hours in Russian. So like this is my first time, so I had to read it, think about it, and it's not natural for me. But that word предпочитаю was very natural to me, because even if I have never seen it written before, but I've heard it in one of the videos that I kept watching on repeat, I knew that word. Which is why I don't give a lot of, I don't spend a lot of time speaking, listening and writing. Like, I think the reason why Steve Kaufman and Stephen Krashen, they are the godfathers of language learning, is because the research, and especially with Steve Kaufman, he learned Russian when he was 60, and he has since learned a lot of other languages to a good level. I think he's up to 2021 as of this video, and that's the reason why he's so successful, is because He believes in listening and reading more than trying to speak. That did not happen to me with Hokkien and Cebuano, of course. That was 100% taught verbally by my parents. But see, I had around maybe a decade or more in those languages to actually be comfortable with it. And even today, I'm not very comfortable in Cebuano. I could speak it with my friends, but I realized that I do speak a lot of English when I speak Cebuano with them. So if I try to speak Cebuano with a person who only speaks Cebuano and no other language that I know, I think I would still get tongue-tied and probably say the wrong thing, or probably speak in Filipino instead of Cebuano. But no me importa. So that is, I mean, that's my language learning process. So choosing a language, loving it, having a goal, and being really invested in it, in the language of your choice, finding materials, making your own materials, so, and then spend a lot of time on the language. So that is pretty much it for my 3-step language learning process. I didn't realize that I only had 3 steps: choosing my language, choosing my material, and just spending a lot of time with it. It's so easy, but it just takes a lot of time. That is it. I would be making another video about what I think a successful language learner is. I mean, factors that surround them and the attitude and mindset of a successful language learner, because I would call myself a successful language learner. And yes, so I hope you enjoyed this long ass video, and speed it up if I speak too slow, because I do that with other videos too. And now I realize that when I'm making the video, sometimes it takes time for me to think of the proper things to say and to be able to express my ideas clearly. But yeah, so if you enjoyed this video, please like this video, or if you enjoy my content, please do subscribe to my videos. Not that it really matters, because I actually do this out of fun, and if I could again encourage anyone to learn another language for fun, I mean, yeah, I'm just trying to share the fun that I'm getting when learning all these different languages. Not to mention a wide range of movies, films, and cultures to discover with these languages. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Até a próxima. Do skoro ba. Paka. A bientôt.